So I did my favorite sneakers of 2023. It's time for my favorite movies. So no, this is. I think it's gonna be like. I think I have like 10 or 11 movies on this list. Start number one, the creator, David Washington. I thought this was an amazing movie. Basically coming from the director of District 9. I was in love with this movie. I think and then for it to be shot by I think only a budget of like I think it was less than 70 million. And this looks like a $500 million movie. Like the storyline was very creative. The movie didn't get a lot of play. I think it should have gotten a lot of more critically acclaim. The girl who played right here, she acted her ass off. I wouldn't be surprised if she got nominated for Oscars. She did such an amazing job. And John David Washington is slowly creeping up, up there with his son. Up there with his daddy. He ain't there yet, but he is on his way. Keeping doing roles like this. One of my favorite movies of the year. I mean, the man. Jigsaw is back with Saw 10. Now, this was a prequel to the historic rise of the Saw franchise. This one takes Jigsaw back to the beginnings in the middle of Saw 1 and 2, where he actually got bamboozled into thinking that he was cured, and then he takes revenge on the people who fake cured him. I love this Saw. I hated that, Jigsaw died, obviously, in I think like end of Saw 3 or 4. And, so this franchise has kind of been dying down, and they reinvigorated with this prequel. And I heard they're doing a couple other more. So Saw 11 is going to be coming out. But I just love this. Like the torture device they had in this. The storyline was crazy. Love Saw. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sleep on this movie. A lot of people didn't see this. No One Will Save You. Hands down, one of the things I love about this movie is it gets straight to the point. You get 20 minutes of like, what the hell's going on? And then after that, all hell breaks loose because then you're trying to figure out what the really hell is going on. A small lady moves back to her town and she's kind of ostracized and hated on by everyone. And you start noticing why. But then everyone in the town starts getting abducted by aliens except her. Now she must fend off the aliens basically by herself, and she almost says absolutely no words through the entire movie, and you are just in the movie, like especially with the gray aliens. Like this movie's crazy. Like hands down one of my favorite movies, especially with Hulu. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, I'm watching this, and it did not disappoint. If you have not seen it, go check it out on Hulu. Now this isn't any particular order, but Killers of the Flower Moon, 3 hours and 24-minute movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, shows why he's one of the best. Obviously, Martin Scorsese is one of the best directors, and Robert De Niro, a class act. What can we say? Everyone loves Robert De Niro. Just an amazing long story, but after you start watching the movie, you start getting justifications of why this movie is the way it is, and they needed that time frame. They could have shortened this movie like 20 minutes, but hands down, still one of the best acting movies of the year, and I know it's going to get nominated for a few Oscars. Oddly enough, people were hating on this Mission Impossible movie. It was one of the highest critically acclaimed movies of the year. I think it had a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. It was the best, highest rated, but yet it didn't break the bank like it should have. And I was very confused because I've seen this movie like twice, and I really loved this movie. It was probably one of the best Mission Impossibles I've seen, and they've keep getting better and better. But this was like a head scratcher to me. Like this movie should have been killing the box office, and it didn't. But I'm not for sure exactly why, because it had all the intangibles to be a box office juggernaut, which it should have been. Now, for all those sneakerheads like myself, airs with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon about the story of how Nike signed Michael Jordan, the most influential basketball player of our generation, of all time. This was me at the screening with my homegirl. I said, wear your Jordans. But this was, like I said, to me, this was an homage to a lot of the sneakerheads, and so how their favorite basketball player was courted by Nike in the uprising of Nike to show where they were and to where they are now. It was actually an amazing feat, and I really love this movie. And every good thing must come to an end. The historic franchise of John Wick ended this year, 2023. Last year. This is hands down probably my favorite action movie of the year, next to the first number one movie. But I love the rendition of this movie. To me, John Wick Chapter 3 and 4 were the best. I did love the first one. It was just such an original take of the assassin saga, like having the gold coins and the secret society of assassins. It was just such a unique feel, something we hadn't seen in a very long time. And just how the way it ended with just so much killing, like he was killing everybody. And you thought that, oh, okay, I'm tired of seeing him kill people. He would just come up with different ways to kill people. I love John Wick Chapter 4. It's like it's one of my favorite movies, so definitely had to put this on the list. One of Christopher Nolan's, now after past the Batman, one of the most critically acclaimed and money making movie of all time. Oppenheimer came out against Barbie, and even as a radar movie, this movie almost made $1 billion. So I take my hat off to Christopher Nolan. This was a great story about how they basically created the atomic bomb. Cillian Murphy does an amazing job as the lead in this movie, and it just blows me away because it gave me almost a Quentin Tarantino is on the writing. Like, it was such a complex story writing in this. So I take my hat off to Christopher Nolan for writing and directing such a magnificent script and movie. And also to the second highest grossing movie of 2023, the Super Mario Brothers. This movie was so huge. Like, I grew up on Mario, so I had to go see this movie. I remember it came out April 7th, and I flew to the theater to see it because I had just gotten back from Mexico. This made almost like $100 million opening weekend. Like, it was bigger. It was like the biggest movie, because to me, like, movies like this where you can take your kids to see what you grew up on. So this movie it was a little different than the video game, but it was just so funny. And Princess Peach right here, Jack Black killed it with that. And that song he did, Princess Peach, is actually up for a Grammy, which is crazy. And this was a surprise for me. Minus One was the best, and now historically the highest grossing subtitled Japanese movie to ever dawn on America's shores. So this movie, I think, is killing it in Japan. It's made a lot of money in Japan. It's their biggest opening as far as a Godzilla movie in Japan, and it's their biggest. And in America, it is the biggest single subtitled Japanese movie and made. And the crazy part is, I think this movie probably together made like almost $400 to $500 million, and they did this on a $15 million budget. Like, the way they arced this story was more about the human aspect of things, and Godzilla was just a dick. He wasn't even fighting other monsters. He was the main villain. And to see this story, you cared more about the people than you did Godzilla. Even though you want to see more of Godzilla, they made it focus on the people, and the storyline was just so beautiful. I can't wait to get this on English dub so I can actually just like listen to it without reading every 5 seconds. Another movie I grew up on, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I wasn't a fan of the animation, but to me, this was one of the funniest movies of the year. I really love how they went back to the original, and they were actually kids. Now, I wasn't a fan of the animation, but I love the storyline, and I love like the coming together of the brothers, Jackie Chan as Master Splinter, and Dr. Dexter, the flying bug, as Ice Cube, was hilarious. I had no idea he was the main villain, so you know Ice Cube's voice when you hear it. He was just so funny. Like, he made this movie amazing, and like I love this movie. I had a special edition on to They Clone Tyrone. That was also a good one. But my last movie I'm gonna do, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This to me was the culmination of just excellence. Like, everything about this movie was amazing. The storyline, the action. One of the scene that when he's running through and all the different Spider-Mans are trying to get him, that scene alone took 2 years. So it's unfortunate that we're not gonna, since the writer's strike and everything, the movie was supposed to come out actually this March, but now it's being pushed back till 2025. So it pissed me off. But this was just such an amazing movie, like, hands down, my number one movie of 2023. So drop some comments, guys. Let me know what's your favorite movie of the year.